Hey, what is up guys? Spectre here, and I am back with another Casual Friday, my unscripted videos where I just ramble about games in general or whatever's going on in games or my life. So last week I talked about my first RPG, and considering that I cover a lot of RPG stuff and, you know, shooter games on my channel, I figured I'd talk about my first shooter this week. I'm not going to talk about my literal first shooter. My first shooter that I ever played was probably GoldenEye for Nintendo 64. And then after that, I'd like play a bunch of shooters on Dreamcast and stuff. But those consoles were like on like my cousin's consoles or friends of mine. They weren't mine proper. And then my first console was a PlayStation 1. That's the first time I had one in my house for me. Of course, I played Genesis, Dreamcast, all that good stuff at my cousin's houses growing up. But the first one that was mine was a PlayStation 1. And that was more the era of like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and the platformer, so I didn't really play shooters that much growing up until I got the original Xbox for Christmas one year. And again, I have to say the original Xbox because, you know, Microsoft likes to name their consoles in an odd fashion. So thanks. Why am I playing this like Clash? I hate when people do that, and I'm doing it because I'm not paying attention because I'm trying to talk and play. This is not going to go well. But yeah, so I didn't play my first serious shooter until the original Xbox, Jesus. And that was Halo Combat Evolved. And it was a game that I absolutely adored, and still I think it's the best Halo out of all of them. Make my day. There we go. I think it's the best Halo ever made, personally, and I think it always will be. And I just adored it. There was something about it. It made me nervous in this way that was exhilarating, that no game had ever done that to me. With the exception of the first level of Metal Gear Solid. That game will constantly give me panic attacks no matter how old I get. That level specifically, not being able to step in a puddle without seeing an exclamation point go over someone's head, stresses me out. but Halo stressed me out in this fun sort of adrenaline pumping way that I had never experienced in like Spyro or Crash Bandicoot or, you know, Super Smash Brothers. Like, it just didn't, that hadn't happened to me in a game yet, and I loved it. And I just devoured that game on my own, and then my dad noticed that I played so much, so he played with me, and we were both playing the game on like Legendary together, just knocking out the campaign and staying up till like terribly irresponsible hours at night, just trying to beat missions like, you know, the library and stuff like that on Legendary, and it was so much fun to do that with my dad. And because he, you know, had to work, him being an adult, me being a child, I had a lot more time with the Xbox, so I'd, you know, like boot up in multiplayer, and I'd just tear through the different levels, and I'd be like, alright, what, like, corner can I exploit here? Where can I hide here? You know, I was the kid, like, climbing up that one wall in Blood Gulch that you could actually walk up, and shit. and just sniping everyone from there, and no one had any idea what was going on. I lived in a multi, you know, story house at the time, like it was a two-family house, and my uncle moved into the apartment upstairs, and he got Xbox, and he got Halo, and we would like all just like have a fun like LAN party every night and just play against each other from different rooms in the house. And it was fun because they never knew what the hell was going on, because my father and my uncle were more in-your-face sort of players, and I was a sniper, so they wouldn't even see me, and they'd be dying a million times. And what killed me was my father went out and bought us a second Xbox and a second copy of... I'm doing terribly this match because I'm trying to talk and play at the same time. But, he went out and bought another Xbox, a huge LAN cable, and another copy of Halo. And it was all just to prove that I was screen looking when I was sniping. And I remember he was so frustrated, not only that he couldn't beat me, but that it was not because I was screen looking, and that he had just shelled out a shitload of money to prove his point, and I thought it was the most hilarious thing ever. He did it, but I did, and it was just so much fun. But eventually he would corner me in like one of the little like bases on either side of Blood Gulch, and he would just have a tank, and he would just drive around it in circles, just waiting for me to show my face so that he could just destroy me with one shot. It was totally unfair, but whatever. Anyway, or they'd team up, like him and my uncle, and they'd both get a tank and just circle the base, and all I could do was hide in the middle. But it was so much fun, and it was really cool, and it kicked off like this huge, you know, like tradition in my house with my father and I, where we'd get we went on and we got 2 steelbook copies of Halo 2, and we, you know, spent an entire weekend just sitting in front of our console, playing straight through it on Legendary, and it just became a thing for us. And, you know, like, we played multiplayer together, and it was really cool. And I had never felt an experience like the Cartographer, I think is the name of it, the 3rd level where you're on a beach in Halo 1, is to me like my favorite level of anything in all time. Like, just storming the beach in a Pelican and then just like kicking the shit out of the Covenant. Like, it's so much fun. And ooh, just saw that sniper. And it's like nothing that I ever played after. Like, nothing has felt like that moment did in that game. And like the theme song is playing in the background, and Halo will forever have the sickest fucking theme song ever. Like, doing the raids in Destiny, I listened to the Halo 2 theme song, and God, he just kicked the shit out of our team. Yeah, doing raids in Destiny, I listened to the Halo 2 theme song. Because I feel like it was like a perfect iteration on the original theme song, adding guitar to it. But yeah, there's something just so cool about that game. That everything about it was so satisfying. And I'd do stupid, crazy experiments. Like, I remember one of my favorite kills was, I got my father with a grenade across the map further than Master Chief could throw it, because I figured out that if you threw one fusion grenade on the ground, the sticky grenades, and then another one in front of it, the first one would explode and launch the other grenade extremely far across the map. And it had to be spaced properly so that they didn't just blow each other up. It would blow up, and that explosion would rocket the other grenade across the map. And I actually stuck my dad in a warthog by doing that, and he was like, "What the hell did you just do?" And I was like, "Yep, I just did that." And it was just all this really fun experimentation that just, like, Halo 3 and even 2, they gave you the tools to experiment. And I always think it's cool, like we were talking about, or I was talking about last week, in my favorite RPG, how I killed one of the NPCs in the game and made my own house before that was a thing, like in the newer Elder Scrolls titles. But I think it's so much cooler how in the older games that didn't give us tools to do things like that, we would do them instinctively, like it's what we wanted to do. We wanted to experiment with the limits of games, and eventually we got things like Forge, where we could do crazy stuff with Halo and the multiplayer maps. But before that, it was just player experimentation. It was just doing stupid shit in a map and seeing what would happen. And I just think that was really a really cool time in gaming, and that was just a really cool game to do it in. And I'm sorry if you hear sirens in the background. I live in New York City, and that's the shitty part of not scripting this stuff out. But yeah, it's just, it will always be one of my favorite shooters. I think that the library was one of the scariest fucking things I've ever played. I still, like, even up to like Halo 3 and Reach and stuff like that, I did not like playing against the Flood at night or with headphones on, because that gross, like, macaroni and cheese sound that they make, like that weird, like, I want to do it, but it's gross, that like weird, just slippery, just wet noises that they make. It sounds so gross, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, the Flood just make disgusting noises, and they would just really unsettle me, because I just remembered I would flash back to the library with my dad, and it was like this high. I still remember the night that we played it. We were sitting there with a shitload of soda, a ton of snacks, and it was a school night, and we were just powering through that level, and it was just so much fun. And I've never played a shooter that fun again. It was like Halo kind of got me accustomed to shooters. So everything after that was just getting accustomed to whatever shooter I was playing. It was like, oh, this functions as that sort of weapon. This is, you know, my quote-unquote assault rifle. This is my, you know, it was equating it with everything I had learned from Halo. So it's like nothing, because that was my first real shooter, nothing will ever play like that for me again. So I just think it's really cool. And I also think it's really shitty when they put you in games in progress in the Crucible where your team is losing by a ton. But yeah, even, you know, Destiny has incredibly satisfying shooting mechanics, I think. I think it's its saving grace because of how lacking it is in other areas. I think if the shooting mechanics weren't so solid in this game, it would have been in serious trouble, and people would have stopped playing way earlier. But I think that's just something that Bungie is just so great at, and it's solid shooting mechanics. And I feel like Halo was the epitome of that, of what Bungie is good at. And I actually kind of think Halo is better than Destiny in terms of like weapon balance and vehicle use. You know, like the vehicles in Destiny are terrible. Your Sparrow is great for getting around point to point, but I'm talking about like the other vehicles that, like, I don't even know the name of them. And I've played hundreds of hours of Destiny, and I can't tell you the name of them because it's totally escaping my mind right now. But I will never forget what the hell a Scorpion tank is. You know, it's little things like that that I think show what kind of an impact the game has on you. When you don't forget things like the name of a of a vehicle, or you just remember how powerful it feels to drive one of them. You know, like, you were the fucking man on campus in Blood Gulch if you had a Scorpion tank. Everyone was screwed and everyone was scared of you. You know, little things like that, and Destiny doesn't feel like that. You know, storming the beach in that third level of Halo, nothing in the Destiny campaign felt like that. You know, the AI for the soldiers in Halo was terrible, but you still had other soldiers with you on the battlefield, and that, like, impacted the way the game felt. Like, once you heard that theme song kick in, and you see the Marines, you know, with you, like, side by side with you, even driving other Warthogs behind you, it just set this sort of scene that I think is really amazing. And it's not totally over the top like a set piece from Call of Duty is, because I feel like Call of Duty has sort of become a caricature of itself. It's like a playable Michael Bay film where everything is blowing up all the time and everything is... It was just this cool sort of unified front. It made you feel powerful in this sort of different way, that there were others with you, even though the AI was shitty and they didn't help all that much. It just, I don't know, it was just this weird thing that Halo sort of accomplished, I guess. I feel like I'm rambling, but I'm trying to kill shit and talk at the same time. But yeah, and it's something that's not present in Destiny at all. You don't see other Guardians, you know, storming, you know, a fallen, you know, stronghold. You don't see stuff like that, and it's stuff that I really miss from Bungie, and it's something that I really hope we see in Destiny 2. I have a lot of high hopes for that game that I really hope come to fruition. But yeah, I'm getting a little off topic now. But yeah, that's it for me this week. I got absolute crap rewards. God, okay. But yeah, share with me your first shooter or your favorite shooter, the shooter that's impacted you the most, because I love to hear about that stuff, and I love to talk to you guys about that stuff. So leave it in the comments below, leave it on Twitter, anywhere, and as always, thanks for watching, guys.